After taking a moment to touch up her lip gloss and tuck a few errant blonde strands back into her ponytail, she readied herself to explore the village she'd agreed to help look after for the next few months. Callum raced after Sarah as she zoomed through the recreation ground, her pigtails flying out behind her, matching the sparkly streamers on her handlebars as she laughed in delight. He'd only taken the stabilizers off her bike the night before, and his heart slammed against his ribs as he sprinted to keep up with her. He was terrified she'd come flying off the bike at any second and hurt herself. Obviously, she was wearing a helmet and knee and elbow pads, but the problem with being a doctor was you got used to seeing the horrific injuries people managed to inflict on themselves, and he couldn't help but worry. In actual years, his daughter was only 6, but in attitude she was maturer, and her mother's independence and mile-wide stubborn streak was already getting her into trouble.
"Daddy, look, I'm doing it! Look how fast I can go!"
she squealed in excitement as she raced past him again. "Be careful, sweetheart. Maybe slow down a little," Callum begged.
"No way! This is too much fun!"
Sarah pushed down harder on the pedals, speeding the bike even faster. "All right, but just one more lap." Callum checked his watch. "Then I need to drop you off at Mrs. Turner's and head into the surgery."
"But it's the weekend!"
Sarah's whine of complaint streaked past him as she tore up the recreation ground path. "People still get sick and hurt even at the weekend, and now I'm running the surgery, I have a lot more paperwork to do." Callum tried to reason with her. "And I'm meeting the doctor who's covering for your granddad now." Sarah squealed to a stop in front of him, spinning the bike sideways like a pro.
"I miss Grandad and Grandma. I hope they come back from their sabbatical soon, and I hope they stay home this time."
"It's sabbatical." Callum sounded the word out for Sarah, yet again overwhelmed with the responsibility of being both father and mother to the incredible little girl in front of him. "Sabbatical," Sarah repeated obediently, watching for her father's approving nod. "Sabbaticals suck." She poked her tongue out. "Little girls shouldn't say words like that," Callum chided gently, while personally agreeing. He missed his parents and all the support they gave him in bringing up Sarah. But he couldn't resent them the adventure of living in Africa and helping set up urgent care centres for some of the poorest people on the planet. They'd originally only planned to be there a few months, but that stretched into a few more, and as soon as they returned from one trip, they were planning the next. And the next. It was over 18 months since they'd regularly lived in Broclington, and he still hadn't fully gotten to grips with juggling his responsibilities to the surgery and managing his own life and Sarah's. On their last visit, his parents had tried hard to hide their dismay at the chaos he'd wrought in the village surgery, and his mother, usually the practice manager, had blitzed through it with her usual ease in the weeks they'd been home, before jetting off again. At least this time his father had managed to source a semi-permanent replacement, instead of the different almost everyday locums who'd been there contributing to the care of the community in general chaos.
"Hey!"
Sarah looked up at him.
"If you're getting a new doctor, does that mean you can come home more early?"
"Yes, Munchkin. Hopefully I will be home more early more often." He tweaked her nose.
"Awesome sauce."
She powered down against her pedals.
"Race ya?"
"All right." Callum broke into a tired jog before realising in horror where she was heading. "Sarah, no! Stay inside the park!" As he broke into a sprint, Sarah rounded the gate and disappeared. He prayed she had the sense to stay on the pavement. He heard the oomph, clatter, and Sarah's cry as he reached the gate and flung himself through it. Liv had already walked through the village centre and located the converted house that was the surgery. She was just strolling past the church, enjoying the fresh air and peace and quiet, when a pink, sparkly fairy on an equally pink, sparkly bike slammed into her. Instinctively, Liv grabbed the little girl as she launched over the handlebars and wrapped her arms tightly around her, protecting her from harm as they toppled backwards under the momentum of the bike that crashed.